Picture this, it's 2010. You put $1,000 into Netflix. By 2020, that little gamble turned into more than $43,000. Now imagine you did the same with Blockbuster. Oh wait, you can't, they're dead. That's the stock market in a nutshell. For every winner, there's a graveyard of losers. So here's the real question. Should you bet on single stocks or take the safer route with funds like index funds, ETF, mutual funds, which does not sound fun at all. In fact, it can be so confusing. Let's settle these ridiculous financial fund types once and for all. And hopefully you see some catching in them. Stocks, also known as the temptation. Owning a stock feels personal. You're not just investing, you're part of the company. You brag at parties, yeah, I own Apple. Reality check, most retail investors lose. On average, people trail the S&P 500 by 3 to 4% every year. Why? Because they buy high out of FOMO and sell low out of panic. It's like swiping right on someone toxic. You know it's a bad idea, but you do it anyway. So how do the pros do it? When picking stocks, investors look for intrinsic value, basically asking, is this stock worth more than its current price? They check the company's profits, growth potential, and whether it has a real edge. If that sounds complicated, that's because it is, which is why most people either lose money or give up. But hey, if you want a deep dive into how to spot a stock's potential upside, let me know in the comments. Index funds, the most boring investment that keeps winning. What are they? Imagine buying one basket that already holds 500 of the biggest US companies. That's an S&P 500 index fund. Instead of guessing which stock will moon, you just buy them all. Some go up, some go down, but overall, history says the basket rises. And here's where it gets different. You don't buy them like stocks. Index funds are priced only once a day after the market closes. That price is called NAV. Don't panic. NAV is just the average value of all the stocks in the basket. Simple. You buy at noon, your trade goes through at 4 p.m.'s NAV price. Easy. The catch? Taxes. Here's why. Index funds are technically mutual funds. So if enough investors pull their money out, the fund might need to sell stocks to raise cash. And when those stocks have gone up, that sale creates capital gains. Those gains then get distributed to all investors. Yep, even you, the loyal one who never sold a share. This also means you can get hit with a tax bill even when you didn't do anything. ETF are like index funds with extra caffeine. They hold the same baskets of companies, but trade like stocks. That means you can buy or sell them anytime during market hours. Want to jump in at 10 a.m. and out at 2 p.m.? Done. And here's where they beat index funds. Tax efficiency. Thanks to their structure, ETF usually don't hand you surprise tax bills when the manager buys or sells inside the fund. ETFs avoid this problem with a neat trick called in-kind redemptions. Instead of selling stocks for cash, they just swap baskets of stocks with big investors, a no-taxable event. That's why ETF are usually more tax-friendly. Now, the catch, bid-ask spreads. Think of it like haggling at a flea market. You're willing to pay $25. The seller wants $25.20. That 20-cent gap is the spread. On big ETF like the S&P 500, spreads are pennies. On smaller or exotic ETF like Global X Uranium ETF URA or ARK, Space Exploration ETF ARKX, spreads can be wide due to lesser buyer and lesser liquidity, and you're overpaying every time you trade. And beware the fancy ETF like Direction Daily Semiconductor Bull 3 X ETF SOXL or Bear 3X SOXS. Some are leveraged 2 or 3 times the daily return, stacked on derivatives. If the market drops 5%, your ETF can drop 10 to 15% overnight. It's like investing in a roller coaster with no seatbelt. Finally, mutual funds. Once the king of investing, now mostly a relic. The idea sounds good. A professional manager picks stocks and bonds for you. They promise to beat the market. Here's the problem. 85 to 90% of them don't, and you're paying 10 times the fees of an ETF for worse performance. Worse still, they're tax inefficient. Imagine the manager sells Apple for a profit inside the fund. Even if you never sold a thing, you could get a taxable payout. Surprise tax bill, courtesy of your expert manager. Are there good mutual funds? Sure. But unless your 401k forces you in, skip them. So here's a summary comparison of stocks and all the fun stocks. No ongoing fees, just trading commissions, usually $0 today. Diversification is narrow, one company, one bet. Liquidity is intraday, you can buy or sell anytime the market's open. Tax is simple, you pay when you sell. Risk and reward, very high. The upside can be huge, but one mistake can wipe you out. Index funds, ultra-low fees around 0.02% to 0.20% a year. Diversification is broad, often hundreds of companies. Liquidity? Once per day, priced after market close. Tax efficiency is moderate. They can pass capital gains distributions to you even if you don't sell. Risk and reward is moderate too. Safer than picking single stocks. But you'll still follow the market's ups and downs. ETF. Fees are also low, roughly 0.03% to 0.75%. Diversification ranges from broad, like the S&P 500, to very niche. Liquidity is strong, trades like a stock, intraday. Tax efficiency is high thanks to the in-kind system that avoids most taxable events. Risk and reward? Flexible. Broad ETFs are stable. Leveraged or exotic ones can be extremely volatile. Mutual funds? Fees are higher, 0.5% to 1.5% or more. Diversification varies, some broad, some niche. Liquidity is limited, priced once daily. Tax efficiency is poor because managers' trades can trigger taxable events for all investors. Risk and reward? Mixed. A few outperform, but most lag the market after fees. So, do you only choose one or a combination of them? Here are some real-life portfolio strategies, but note that this is not financial advice. For the high-risk accelerator portfolio, allocate 80% in carefully chosen quality stocks, 20% in a broad ETF. Who it fits: young, single, long runway. Goal: maximize growth early with a small safety net. For low-risk sustainable portfolio, allocate 20% in dividend-paying stocks, 80% in dividend-focused ETFs. Who it fits: families, near retirement, wealth preservation. Goal: generate steady income, beat inflation, sleep peacefully. Balanced contrarian portfolio. Allocate 50% in broad ETFs like S&P 500, 30% in growth stocks, 20% in a hedge ETF, gold, commodities, or long bonds. Who it fits: mid-career builders who want growth but insurance for downturns. So here's the truth. Each option has strengths, but also has its risks. Which strategy have you used, and did it actually get you closer to your financial goals? Drop your story in the comments.